Welcome to a deep dive into something I think you guys are going to really like today.
Yeah.
We're talking travel,
Ooh, fun.
but not just like the, pack your bags kind of travel.
Yeah.
We're going deep with
Huh.
Alain de Botton's The Art of Travel.
Very
And
true.
we're going to be talking about, why we travel, how to really experience a place.
Yes.
The source material for this deep dive is actually a YouTube summary,
Okay.
which is awesome because it's like, short, sweet, to the point, but it's packed with ideas,
Yeah.
and we're here to unpack it all.
Absolutely. Think of this as like a toolkit for enriching your next trip.
Yeah.
And I mean, that can be anything, right? Like a far-flung adventure or even like a staycation, exploring a new part of your own city.
I love that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Seeing things with fresh eyes.
So let's jump into, I think, the first big idea from the book that kind of sets the stage for everything else, which is this tension that exists between anticipation and reality when it comes to travel.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all know that feeling, right? Like that pre-trip excitement.
Totally.
We're picturing ourselves, you know, on a pristine beach.
Sipping cocktails,
Yes, exactly.
leaving our worries behind.
Yes, all the worries are gone.
Yeah.
But de Botton actually starts the book
Okay.
with this hilarious story about a duke
Oh.
who plans this like grand tour of Europe,
Wow.
but he never actually leaves for the trip.
He never leaves.
Never leaves.
Oh, that's so
He just plans it and plans it and plans it.
And that is like the perfect illustration of how like the reality of travel,
Right.
like the packing the airport security lines,
Ugh, don't even get me started.
the inevitable delays, right?
Yeah.
It can
Yeah.
sometimes overshadow that idyllic picture we've created in our minds.
Yeah.
And de Botton himself, he talks about experiencing this in Barbados.
Oh,
He
really?
went there thinking, tranquil escape.
Yeah, of course.
But the reality was like sweltering heat crowds, all those little travel hassles,
Yeah.
and he found himself just as anxious as he was back home.
Oh, bummer.
I know.
So is the book saying, like, we shouldn't get excited about trips?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Like anticipation is part of the joy.
Right.
What he's suggesting is like a more balanced approach.
Right.
Like acknowledge that some discomfort is inevitable.
Yeah.
Maybe even like jot down those aspects of the trip you're kind of dreading
Oh.
just to get them out in the open.
I see.
It's almost like giving yourself permission
Huh.
to experience those less than perfect moments
Okay.
without letting them like derail the whole trip.
So it's like mentally packing a raincoat
Yes.
along with your swimsuit.
Exactly.
You're prepared for a few showers,
Right.
but you're still looking forward to the sunshine.
And then when those perfect moments do arrive,
Yeah.
you'll savor them even more
Oh, okay.
because you're not constantly comparing them to this like idealized version of the trip.
Right. You're present in the moment.
Exactly.
You're taking it all in.
Sunshine and the downpour.
I like that. Okay, so anticipation. We got that.
Sure.
Let's move on to, I guess, point number 2 from the summary,
Right.
which is finding the extraordinary in the ordinary.
Okay.
And this I thought was fascinating.
Yeah.
De Botton talks about finding like solace and even wonder in airports,
Interesting.
like watching planes take off,
Yeah.
imagining all those destinations, and it sparks this feeling of possibility.
Yeah, like where could they be going?
Exactly.
All the stories on board.
And he connects this to the poet Baudelaire,
Okay.
who was similarly captivated by ships and their voyages.
I love that. And it's so interesting, right? Because they're finding beauty in things that most of us take for granted.
Totally.
Like Baudelaire, it was clouds for him.
Really?
It was the shapes and movements of clouds. Like
Whoa,
he was so present and attuned to his surroundings that he could find poetry in that.
that's amazing.
Right.
So what if we tried to apply that same attentiveness to our own travels?
Yeah.
Like, could we find wonder in the patterns in a cobblestone street, or the sounds of a foreign language,
Absolutely.
or the way the light filters through leaves?
The key is cultivating that sense of curiosity,
Yeah.
that willingness to look beyond the surface
Mm-hmm.
and find those little extraordinary things hidden within the ordinary.
And that doesn't have to be on a trip across the world?
No, not at all.
Right.
You can practice this anywhere.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, just being more present.
So it's really about reminding ourselves that adventure can be found anywhere
Exactly.
if we're open to it.
If you're open to it.
And speaking of adventure,
Yes.
I think it's time we unpack this idea of exoticism.
Okay, let's do it.
that allure of the unknown
Hmm.
and the, sometimes complex realities
Yeah,
that come with seeking it out.
absolutely.
So de Botton uses the example of Gustave Flaubert,
Okay.
a famous French novelist who
Yeah.
was totally captivated by the Orient.
As it was called back then.
Yeah, and he actually traveled to Egypt,
Wow.
trying to immerse himself in the culture.
Yeah.
He even dressed as a local,
Really?
tried to pass as an Egyptian.
It seems like he was really searching for something.
He was,
Yeah.
but from the summary,
Yeah.
it seemed like his quest for exoticism
Right.
didn't quite go as planned.
Didn't he eventually realize that simply changing locations
Yeah.
didn't magically transform him or solve his internal struggles?
Oh.
He still carried his anxieties and frustrations with him.
So it's not about running away from ourselves.
Right.
We can't just pack our bags and
Right.
expect all of our problems to disappear.
Our problems will follow us.
They always do.
They do.
But it sounds like he did find some genuine connection.
He did.
Through his engagement with Egyptian culture.
Yeah, he learned the language,
Okay.
immersed himself in the history,
Yeah.
and he even felt a sense of belonging,
Really?
almost like claiming a new nationality
Wow.
based on his affinity for the people and their way of life.
That's such an interesting idea. Choosing a nationality based on shared values and connections rather
Right.
than just birthplace.
Makes you rethink what it means to belong,
It does.
to find a home, even if it's far from where you were born.
But it also raises some questions, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How can we as travelers approach new cultures
Right.
with that same genuine curiosity and respect
Yeah.
without falling into the trap of romanticizing or appropriating them?
That's a crucial question, and it requires a delicate balance.
Mm-hmm.
It's about approaching each encounter with humility,
Yeah.
open-mindedness,
Yeah. Sure.
being eager to learn and understand,
Mm-hmm.
but also being mindful of cultural sensitivities.
I see.
We need to shift from the mindset of a tourist,
Yeah.
just ticking off boxes,
Right.
to that of a respectful guest engaging with another culture on its own terms.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a constant learning process for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think it ties in beautifully with our next topic, which is about, finding that sense of discovery and wonder, even when we're traveling to places that are already well-trodden,
Right.
well-documented,
Yeah.
maybe even a bit too familiar.
Yeah, I've been there.
De Botton talks about experiencing a surprising bout of boredom
Oh, really?
in Madrid, of all places.
Wow.
He woke up in his hotel room surrounded by all this history and culture
Yeah.
and just felt completely uninspired.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's something that a lot of modern travelers can probably relate to.
Totally. We're bombarded with information about destinations before we even go
Yeah.
reviews, photos, itineraries.
Yeah.
And we often feel this pressure to see and do everything,
Mm.
to squeeze every drop of excitement out of the
You
experience.
got to get that Instagram shot.
You got to get it.
Right.
But ironically, that can lead to a kind of sensory overload that results in boredom.
Yeah, it's you're so busy checking things off your list
Exactly.
that you forget to actually experience the place.
You're not present.
Yeah.
You're just kind of going through the motions.
And de Botton contrasts this kind of modern travel malaise
Okay.
with the experiences of explorers like Alexander von Humboldt,
Oh, wow.
who traveled to South America in the late 18th and early 19th centuries.
Talk about a different era of travel.
Talk about a different era, right?
No internet.
No internet, no guidebooks.
And no TripAdvisor.
None of that.
Wow.
And Humboldt was driven by this pure thirst for knowledge,
Yeah,
this desire to map the unknown, to document the natural world.
that's incredible.
And he was constantly making new discoveries, encountering new species, pushing the boundaries of scientific understanding.
So boredom was just not an option.
Boredom wasn't even on the table.
He was living the dream,
Right.
the explorer's dream.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
But it kind of makes our carefully curated Instagram itinerary seem,
Little underwhelming.
yeah, just a tad.
Yeah.
But the thing is, in today's world, those blank spots on the map are pretty much gone.
Right. They are.
So how do we, as modern travelers, tap into that same spirit of discovery?
Yeah. How do we find that?
That sense of awe and wonder that Humboldt embodied,
Yeah.
even when we're exploring places that are already well-charted.
That's the question.
It is the question, and de Botton has a really intriguing suggestion.
Okay, I'm listening.
He encourages us to approach travel with a sense of inquiry,
Okay.
to ask questions that go beyond the surface level,
Mm-hmm.
beyond the typical guidebook facts and figures.
Okay, I like that.
So instead of just learning, the dates of a cathedral's construction,
Right.
ask yourself why it was built in that particular style.
Interesting.
What stories its walls could tell,
Mm.
how its presence shaped the lives of the people who lived and worshipped there.
It's like turning every destination into a living, breathing textbook.
Exactly. And you don't need to be a historian or an architect to do this.
Right.
De Botton gives this wonderful example.
Okay.
He's like, what if you just ask yourself, why are Spanish names so long?
Oh, that's a good one.
It's such a simple question.
It is.
But it opens up a whole world of cultural history and linguistic nuance.
Yeah, and it's about finding those little sparks of curiosity
Yeah.
that ignite a deeper understanding and appreciation for the place you're visiting.
So it's like we're being challenged to channel our inner Humboldt,
Yes.
to approach every trip as an expedition,
I love that.
even if it's just a weekend getaway to a nearby town.
Yeah.
And speaking of expeditions,
Okay.
let's shift gears a bit and talk about the power of nature to enhance our travel experiences,
Yeah.
something that de Botton explores beautifully in the book.
Mm-hmm.
He brings up the poet William Wordsworth
Okay.
and his concept of spots of time.
Spots of time.
Have you heard of this?
I have not.
Okay, so Wordsworth believed that certain encounters with nature,
Mm-hmm.
especially those that evoked strong emotions or sensory experiences,
Okay.
could become like etched in our memories as these spots of time. And they weren't just fleeting moments. They were like vivid, almost tangible memories
Yeah.
that you could return to again and again,
Wow.
drawing strength and solace from them.
It's like creating a mental library
Yes,
of beautiful and meaningful moments in nature that
exactly.
you can access whenever you need a dose of peace or inspiration.
I love that.
That's beautiful.
So de Botton talks about his own experience in England's Lake District,
Oh,
where Wordsworth found so much inspiration.
yeah.
And he describes feeling this deep sense of calm and connection with the landscape,
Mm-hmm.
almost as if he were stepping into one of Wordsworth's poems.
That's so cool.
And it makes me think about all those times I've like rushed through a beautiful park
Right.
or a scenic overlook.
You're snapping a quick photo and moving on.
Exactly, just snapping a photo
Yeah.
and moving on.
Totally.
What if I had slowed down,
Yeah.
taken a deep breath,
Mm-hmm.
really immersed myself in the sights, sounds, and even smells of that place?
Right. Like engage all your senses.
Could I have created my own spot of time? A
Absolutely.
memory I could return to.
And it doesn't require a pilgrimage to the Lake District
Okay.
or a grand mountain vista.
So where can we find these spots of time?
A spot of time can be found anywhere.
Really?
A quiet corner in a city park, a walk along a wooded trail,
Yeah.
even a moment spent tending to your houseplants.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
So it's really about that intentionality,
It is.
that conscious choice to be fully present in the experience,
Mm-hmm.
to savor it with all your senses.
To really be there.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's really a reminder that nature's ability to inspire and restore us is always available if we just take the time to notice it.
It is. And while we're on the topic of nature's power,
Yes.
I think it's time we explore this concept of the sublime,
Okay, bring it on.
which de Botton so beautifully intertwines with the travel experience.
Yeah, he has this incredible passage in the book
Oh, yeah.
where he describes standing in the vastness of the Sinai Desert,
Wow.
feeling utterly insignificant and completely awestruck
Hmm.
by the immensity of the landscape around him.
So that's a perfect example of encountering the sublime.
Okay, what is that?
That feeling of being overwhelmed, even dwarfed by something much greater than ourselves.
Wow.
Something that transcends our everyday understanding and puts our own worries and concerns into perspective.
Okay.
It's often associated with nature, right?
Okay.
Vast deserts, towering mountains, stormy seas.
Those big landscapes.
Exactly. But it can also be triggered by art, music, architecture.
Really?
Anything that evokes that sense of grandeur and awe.
It's interesting because it doesn't sound like it's always a purely positive feeling.
No, you're right.
There's like an element of fear or unease mixed in with the wonder,
Yeah.
like a recognition of our own fragility in the face of something so powerful.
The sublime is both exhilarating and humbling.
Wow.
It shakes us out of our complacency, reminding us that we are just a small part of something much larger than ourselves.
That's powerful.
And in a way that realization can be incredibly liberating.
How so?
It allows us to let go of our ego, our need to control everything, and simply surrender to the experience.
It's like a perspective shift.
Totally.
A reminder that there's this whole universe out there that exists beyond our own limited experience.
And while a trek through the Sinai Desert might be one way to encounter the sublime,
Yeah.
do we really need to go to such extremes to tap into that feeling?
I mean, I'm not planning any desert treks anytime soon.
Me neither. But the key is cultivating that sense of awareness,
Okay.
that willingness to see the extraordinary within the ordinary.
Give me some examples.
It could be as simple as gazing up at the night sky and feeling a sense of awe at the vastness of the universe.
Okay, yeah.
Or standing on a seashore and being humbled by the relentless power of the waves.
Or even just pausing to appreciate a magnificent tree.
Exactly.
Realizing how many seasons it's witnessed, how many storms it's weathered.
The sublime isn't limited to grand landscapes or dramatic events. It's a way of seeing, a way of experiencing the world with a sense of wonder and humility, even in those everyday moments.
That's a beautiful thought.
It is.
It's amazing how these big concepts, the sublime, finding wonder in the mundane,
Yeah.
they can actually be accessed in those quiet everyday moments.
Right.
It really shifts your perspective
It does.
on what it means to travel to experience the world around you.
Totally.
And speaking of perspective shifts,
Okay.
I think it's time we brought art into the conversation.
All right. All right.
So de Botton talks about how art can be a powerful catalyst for travel.
Okay.
Even changing our perception of places we might not have considered before.
Interesting.
And he uses the example of Provence,
Provence.
the region in the south of France.
Beautiful.
And initially he wasn't particularly drawn to it,
Okay.
but his whole perspective changed after learning about Van Gogh's time there.
Oh, yeah.
How the landscape and light of Provence inspired some of his most iconic paintings.
That's so cool. It's like art can act as a gateway to new experiences.
Yeah.
It can open our eyes to the beauty of places we might have overlooked.
Right.
Spark our curiosity about different cultures and historical periods.
Totally.
And even inspire us to travel to destinations we'd never considered before.
Yeah, imagine picking up a novel
Yes.
set in a far-off country, becoming so immersed in its world
Right.
that you feel compelled to experience those places firsthand.
To see it for yourself.
Exactly. Or stumbling upon a painting
Yeah.
that captures a landscape so vividly that you long to stand in that very spot.
To see those colors.
To see it, to feel it. It's
Yeah.
almost like art gives us a new lens through which to see the world.
It does.
It helps us appreciate the beauty in the everyday.
Absolutely.
To notice details we might have otherwise missed.
Right.
And to connect with the place on a deeper, more emotional level.
It adds another layer to the experience.
And de Botton even suggests that, revisiting a piece of art after you've traveled to the place it depicts
Yeah.
can actually enrich your memories
Wow.
and deepen your understanding of the experience.
It's like those brushstrokes hold a new meaning.
Right.
A new resonance.
After you've been there.
After you've walked those streets or gazed upon that landscape yourself.
It's like the art becomes a bridge between your imagination and your lived experience.
It connects those two things.
And it's not limited to paintings either.
Right.
Think about how a piece of music can evoke the atmosphere of a particular city.
Totally.
Or how a film can transport you to a different time and place.
Yeah, you've actually stepped into that world.
Exactly.
I love that.
So it's a powerful reminder that art in all its forms
Yes.
can be a wonderful travel companion.
Absolutely.
Both inspiring us to explore new destinations and enriching our experiences once we're there.
And while we're on the topic of capturing those travel experiences, I'm curious about how we can preserve those memories. How can we make them last beyond the usual snapshots and souvenirs?
Right, because those only capture so much.
They do. And de Botton actually delves into the ideas of John Ruskin.
John Ruskin, okay.
Who was a prominent art critic and writer from the 19th century.
Okay.
And Ruskin was a passionate advocate for drawing.
Drawing.
As a way to truly see and understand a place.
Even more so than photography.
He believed that the act of drawing, of slowing down and carefully observing a scene, forced you to engage with it on a much deeper level
Interesting.
than simply clicking a shutter.
So it's not about, like, creating a perfect representation?
No, not at all.
Oh,
It's about the process of observation,
I see.
of noticing those subtle details, the play of light and shadow, the textures and forms that make a place unique.
So through drawing, we not only capture the essence of a place,
Yes.
but we also, like, imprint it on our memory in a more profound way.
You've really taken it in.
It makes me think about all those times I've, like, rushed through a museum or historical site,
Right.
snapping photos without really taking the time to absorb what I was seeing.
Just clicking away.
Yeah, just clicking away.
Yeah.
What if I'd sat down with a sketchbook
Yeah.
and tried to capture the intricate details of a sculpture or the grandeur of a cathedral's facade?
Would you remember those places more vividly now?
I think I would.
I think so too.
And Ruskin also championed the idea of word painting,
Word painting.
using descriptive language
Okay.
to create a vivid and evocative portrayal of a place.
Yeah.
So he encouraged travelers to keep journals,
Okay.
to write about their experiences in a way that went beyond simply listing the sights they saw.
To really capture the essence of the place.
Exactly. And so as we wrap up this deep dive
Yeah.
into the art of travel,
This has been great.
what's like one key takeaway you hope listeners will carry with them?
I hope they'll embrace the idea that travel at its core is about expanding our horizons,
Oh, okay.
both externally and internally.
I like that.
You know, it's about being open to new experiences, challenging our assumptions, and finding beauty and wonder in unexpected places.
And approaching every journey with a sense of curiosity.
Yes.
And a willingness to let ourselves be transformed by the experience.
I love that.
And remember, you don't need a private jet or a luxury cruise
No,
to become an artful traveler.
not at all.
It's about cultivating that mindset.
Right.
With curiosity, that intentionality, that appreciation for the journey itself,
Yeah.
no matter where you wander.
So true.
So as you plan your next adventure,
Yeah.
consider packing a sketchbook alongside your guidebook,
Great idea.
a journal alongside your camera,
Love it.
and most importantly, pack an open mind
Yes.
and a heart ready to embrace the transformative power of travel.
Beautiful.
Bon voyage and happy travel.
Happy travels.